All right, so let's take a look at how managing multiple projects in an organization differs from managing just one. Imagine for a minute a corporation that I'll call the Mancala Corporation that manufactures stuff, builds things, and provides services. They have a lot of projects to complete each year. They have 6 people working on projects. Like most organizations, they muddle through doing as many projects as their resource capacity of 6 allows them to do. These are good, hardworking people, but as we will see, they may not necessarily be working smart. I call it Mancala Corporation because the game of Mancala nicely illustrates the flow of projects through the company. Projects like the glass beads or stones in Mancala move through the organization from one functional specialist or technician to the next until the projects are completed, delivering value to customers and producing revenues. At Mancala Corporation, a new project is started each month with the 6 hardworking resources trying to keep management happy by spreading their efforts equally across all the active projects that management approves, funds, and assigns them to complete. Management is eager to get the projects done, so they keep pushing projects into the queue, motivating the resources with energy drinks and pep talks and probably the occasional angry tirade. Now, the CFO of Mancala Corp tracks the costs of the work on the projects as well as the revenues that begin to come in once a project is completed and providing goods and services to customers. Costs for materials and overhead begin to accrue almost immediately, as do the costs of labor for the resources to work on the projects. But only when a project is finished do the revenues begin to trickle in. For Mancala, we'll count $1 million in revenue in our financial worksheet for each completed project. Now notice that we're going to be looking at 2 scenarios, one where management pushes or passively allows projects into the pipeline each month without regard for resource constraints, and one scenario where management takes a more enlightened approach. You'll see the comparison at the end. So from the pool of possible projects, management regularly approves, funds, assigns, and adds 1 new project each month to the workload of the resources. Thus in January, the first project is started, and all 6 resources can work on it full-time, with each resource doing 1 man-month of work. At the end of January, Project A has had 6 man-months of work completed. In February, management assigns Project B, so now the 6 resources are split, half to each of Project A and B, and as a result, during the month of February, the new project only progresses by 3 man-months of work, and Project A also progresses by another 3 man-months of work. In March, management assigns Project C, so now the 6 resources are split among all 3 and can only progress each project by 2 man-months of work. Keep in mind, costs are accruing and these resources are being paid, yet the first quarter has finished and there is no revenue being generated by completed projects. So along comes April, and so it goes, with project progress deteriorating as more and more new projects are added because resources are being increasingly overloaded with additional projects. In May, Project A is finally completed and finally starts to generate $1 million in revenue. By July, halfway through the year, there are now 6 active projects at Mancala, meaning that each project will only progress by 1 man-month at a time. It takes until October for Project B to finally reach completion.
Now we've got time to kill the shadows on our skin, kill the fire that burns within, killing time, my friend.
It almost feels as monotonous in a real organization as it looks on this demonstration. So here we go, October, Project J, and then each of the projects get a little bit of progress. Notice some of the resource capacity is down to half of a man-month progress on each resource or on each project. Finally, B gets complete. We chalk up $2 million. Now, November and December come and go with resource efforts diffused on 10 active projects. But of course, there's no more revenue generated for the year because no more projects are completed. We get clear down to the end of the year. December comes and goes. We've started Project L. And by the end of the year, we can see the CFO tallies up the year-end financial statements. It reveals that the company generated $2 million in revenue, but they also incurred the costs of working on 12 projects, with 10 of them still active and in process at year-end. Now let's talk a little bit about the human side of this story. The human side is this: the project managers for projects C and D did their estimates and projections based on a project-by-project view of the world. They didn't take into account project flow through the entire organization. That wasn't their job. That was senior management's job. But that doesn't matter. They told senior management that their projects would be completed and launched by the end of the year, and according to their estimates, they should have been. So the downside is that senior management now also did not take into account a holistic company-wide view of projects and resources and the flow through the company. So they got tired of chewing out the project managers for C and D, and at the end of the year, they just laid them off.